You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/cheapgeek. So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. This is episode number 111.
Interview with M&D Paranormal and Cryptid Research, plus big event news.
Yes, we have some big event news, and the good thing is, and the very nice thing is, we actually have a real live interview situation set up. Something that we told people that were listening to the podcast in the past that we were actually going to do, and we're actually doing it. Isn't that nice?
Yes.
It's a nice thing, and I've said actually 6 times so far. So it must be a legit thing. So here's the deal. We started this podcast a long time ago talking about paranormal and weird stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And currently we're broadcasting paranormal and weird news and fun stories from our CreepGeeks Bunker Studio in the mountains of western North Carolina. Except for today, we're in a secret, undisclosed location. But anyway, if this is your first time tuning in, we're in an offbeat news podcast. Takes a lighthearted approach to the strange, the stupid, the paranormal, and tech topics circulating the web.
And you can always give the show a call, leave us a message, feedback, comments, anything. Phone number is 575-208-4025.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We do a live stream podcast, which you can find a link to that in our show notes, which is on the website that we have. We call that website creepgeeks.com, where you can find our podcast there. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can find it all over the place, like iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio. Pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast, you can get our podcast, which is very nice. And for those people that do listen that way, we very much appreciate it. Seems like every month we get more and more downloads, and it's a nice thing. And we do appreciate that. And also, if you decided that you like this podcast enough to actually rate it wherever you listen to the podcast, we appreciate that too. We appreciate only the finest 3 to 5 star reviews. Yeah, that's what we do. So, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
We are joined today with a couple of wonderful, like-minded people. They happen to be M&D Paranormal and Cryptid Research, right? And the good thing about this is that since we talked in the past of this podcast about doing interviews, and we actually have that interview sort of situation set up right here, we're lucky enough to be joined by these guys. These guys are actual ghost, I don't want to say ghost hunters.
Paranormal investigators.
Paranormal investigators. They do it for real.
Yes.
And we've all seen the TV shows, and I'm not going to say anything disparaging about the TV shows. They may or may not be real. Don't know, right? But they do it for real. And we have the opportunity to sit here and ask a whole bunch of questions, right?
Yes.
So we can see exactly what it's like and what they do and how they do it and why they do it and all that good stuff. So for us, it's super exciting. And on top of all that, they're actually very nice people.
Yes.
Right? And because you would expect some kind of weirdness going on because it is the paranormal, right? And it's not here. It doesn't exist. These are just good people. Nice people. Friendly people. Yeah.
Go ahead and introduce them.
Well, I was going to say, where we have right now, sitting with us is, and you can do your thing, say hello. Say. Okay, everybody points to everybody else. I'll do it then. We have Daniel sitting over here that you guys can't see, but I'm gesticulating in his general direction. So he can say hello.
Oh, wait, they can't hear me wave?
No.
Oh,
No.
All right.
So you have Daniel and we have Tess. And in the interest in the interest of full disclosure, we've been trying to record this podcast for about 4.5 hours now because it's been so much fun. It's just been taking a while.
Wait,
So
what's the name of the podcast?
the podcast is the CreepGeeks Podcast, episode number 111, interview with M&D Paranormal and Cryptid Research plus big event news.
Well, thank you for having us. We're glad to be here.
Well, we were glad you accepted. So it's a fun time. But no, actually, we kind of met through the Shop Ecclectic, which is in Marion, North Carolina, on I don't know what this 49 State Street. I'm not sure.
49 State Street.
49 State Street. because we came to actually see a monthly gathering that you guys do on different subjects, and it's been fun ever since. So.
Yeah.
And there's one coming up in
February 9th.
On February 9th, and I don't remember what it's called.
Polar shift theory.
Ooh, polar shift theory.
Mysteries and effects.
So what is that about? Don't say it's about the polar shift. So.
That rabbit hole, yes.
Yes. So this has been a good experience for us because we've been able to come and see some interesting things and talk to interesting people, like-minded people, and we've talked about this in the past. We've kind of talked about you guys a little bit in the past, and we actually have the opportunity to sit down and ask you guys a bunch of questions, and it's going to be a good thing, I think, all the way around. And it's rare to find a place where you can actually go and do that sort of thing, find people with like-minded interests where they're actually nice, and just kind of hang out and learn some stuff, because we've been through events in the past and been through places in the past where that's not always the case.
Yeah.
So it's been good for us. We appreciate that.
Well, you guys are nice too.
Aw.
Don't tell everybody we're nice. How we're going to keep our cutting edge. Got to wear a black T-shirt. That's how you show off.
Blactical.
That's right. Make it blactical.
I don't think I've met the same people.
Oh, see,
Oh.
there we go.
Got
Keep it
jokes
real.
already.
It's like, all right, so how do we ban Daniel without him knowing? So anyway, as we do with this podcast, we like to start off with an interesting random factoid. And Omi was kind enough to find an interesting random factoid.
Well, I found two little ones, and since we were in the Southwest, we noticed Southwest, Roswell, New Mexico, aliens. Well, turns out in 2018,
That's true.
North Carolina made the top 10 list for the most UFO sightings reported.
Really?
Yes, compared to all the other states.
North Carolina,
Of all places.
not New Mexico,
No.
with the whole Roswell flap,
No.
or even Texas. Like, wow.
No, in total, I'm trying to find the link because it stopped working.
Well, how you like that?
Yeah,
It's dramatic UFO music.
but North Carolina topped and beat out several other states. So,
That actually makes me kind of excited.
But remember, earlier this year, or last year, 2018,
Yeah.
we reported 4 different instances of UFO sightings just for North Carolina, including the blimp. So this particular statistic isn't just genuine UFO sightings, it's also mistakes.
Did you guys happen to see that?
Yeah.
This was like when was it? Over the summer. Actually, towards the end, I think this was in September. There was a person who reported the UFO in this area and was all fired up about it. And he was interviewed, and it wound up being the Goodyear blimp.
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. So it was a Goodyear blimp, and Goodyear actually said, "Hey guys, that was us." And he's like, "I'll believe it when I see it." so we had Goodyear. The blimp is like we were actually flying around. Hey, that was
Checkmate.
us. Yeah, because
Saw it.
they were flying around because they were going to go through, I guess, head out towards Charlotte Motor Speedway and all that.
Yeah.
And this guy's seen it when he was fishing, like I think on Lake Lure. He's seen it and videotaped it for a while. And then when they came across and said, "No, that was really us," he was like, "I'll believe it when I see it." Like, how dare you? He just knew it was something nefarious. I actually thought that was really funny.
Yeah. So in total, it was 2,822 UFO sightings
Just in North Carolina.
just in North Carolina. But now this is in total, like all time. Starting in the 1950s is when they start this index. So 2,822 with a major increase in 2018. The only state that dominates, everybody else, California, 13,199.
Okay, so why does California have so many?
California is much larger.
That's the other
And
thing.
what else they got going on in California? It's physically like a third of the country almost, right?
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of military bases there. There's a bunch of mountain ranges there, and there's a bunch of weirdos in California.
And there's a bunch of military bases here. There's a bunch of mountains
That's
here,
true.
and there are a bunch of weirdos here.
But it's such a small, compact area, because I used to live in California, right? And when you look at, what is it, 1,400 miles is how long California is, something like that? Yeah. And it's spread out pretty far, and it actually touches like Nevada and parts of the desert there. It would make sense to have more sightings, but I don't understand how they can have like 13,000 more sightings, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make much sense.
Now, this is according to the National UFO Reporting Center.
So is that from when to when?
Starting in the 1950s, we're going to go all the way down to... Wow, I can't get to the bottom of this list, but it says this list starts indexing from the 1950s and goes on per state.
Can I throw something out there?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Food for thought. So thinking about it in the context of kind of southern USA versus California, type of people who are more likely to maybe admit they've seen something versus people who, may be more reserved about that, or maybe, only telling their friends, not big major news articles or anything like that too. I mean, taking that into perspective. Yeah, the state is much larger, but the type of people who live there versus the type of people who live in North Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, people in California, I saw a UFO. Well, so did I.
Yeah.
People in North Carolina.
We don't talk about that here.
Yeah, I'm only going to tell my friends.
And that would kind of, I mean, we do see that because, okay, so we came in from New Mexico, right? And what we've noticed is that, even out in New Mexico, we talk to people, they would tell us some things, and we'd ask them, hey, would you like to be on the show, or would you like to, kind of say that in public, if you will, and they're like, nope.
Yeah.
And I can kind of see that here.
But then
it's funny, like, have you seen anything? And they'll be like, no. Well, let me tell you about this one time. And can I write that down? And they're like, no.
That's something that we're trying to fight here, too, if I may.
Yeah.
With our gatherings here at the shop, we want to fight that stigma.
Yeah.
We want to give people a safe place to go and talk about these things.
And it's really cool that the shop really wasn't intended for that purpose to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing how, Johnny and their brother and then their, their sister and their cousin all want to come down in the shop, and they're going to share their story. They ain't going to buy nothing, or they don't want to buy anything. They don't want to look around, but they're going to welcome up to the window and, tell my mom or whoever else is here working, their story, and then peace out.
Yeah.
So the Shop Ecclectic okay, so we've talked about the shop a little bit, which we should probably call it what it is. It's the Shop Ecclectic. What is the Shop Ecclectic? For those of people who don't know, because I realize that we've talked about it in some of our previous podcasts, especially coming down for the gatherings. We've never really explained what it is.
Yeah.
So the Shop Ecclectic is essentially a metaphysical shop.
We can get things like incense,
herbs, stones, crystals,
candles.
I mean, just honestly, various odds and ends, anything metaphysical, anything kind of spiritual based, going along all faiths and paths. So we're not, centric on one thing. We serve the population of anything.
Cool.
We are not faith centric. You can get everything from sage to holy water here.
Very nice.
And we did.
Yeah, that's right. We did.
Yes. I now have holy water, and I have some sage and some other stuff for our next adventure.
Sweet.
Yeah.
See, I think that's good because going back to the shop is here for that particular purpose, but it seems it has turned into a different purpose because when we came in to see the first gathering, which was what was it? It wasn't Tulpas. It was
Past Lives.
Yeah, it was Past Lives. And we noticed that it's like, okay, you come into the shop and you have all the supplies you'd want to need, and there's a little area over there, a little gathering area where a presentation was put on. But met a bunch of people, like-minded people. They were happy, friendly. There was no weirdness. It was kind of unusual, And I think the whole idea of being able to come in and to be able to experience or talk about or to express an opinion or something that's happened to you, like maybe a story without being judged, is freaking fantastic because we've all talked to people. And here's the funny thing about the whole thing, right? There's enough people watching shows about aliens, UFOs, cryptids, Bigfoots. It's like there's 1,000 shows on television. But when you talk about it with somebody, and they're like, oh, sometimes they want to discount what you say or make fun of you or look at you like you're a weirdo when they're secretly at home watching that crap too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, let me throw you the side eye because you like to watch the ghost shows, right? It's like, come on, at home you're watching them.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to put it out there in the public. And then if you do, you can be looked at as being, a little side eye. Like, what? I'm all for it because I think there's so many avenues now to see all this stuff. Whether you like just watching the shows, even in the movies, all of that stuff, I think it's way more accepted than it used to be. Because it used to be if you were out there saying, hey, you know what, I've seen a bunch of UFOs and some weird stuff in my backyard, and they're like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
You just need to stay away.
Well,
I don't think it's like that hardly. But you still see it when people kind of give you a look. There's people you just won't, say, hey, I've seen something one time, because they give you the weird look.
That weird look.
Yeah, I like that weird look.
It definitely is more mainstream, but there is still a stigma with it.
Yeah,
And that's one thing here. We love to collect the stories. If you don't want us to repeat those stories, we won't.
Yeah.
See,
Very
that's
nice.
nice.
We're very, very heavy on confidentiality. That's honestly one of our founding kind of factors, like that we talked about and heavily thought about, because some people just either don't want their story told, or they're only telling you because they want help.
yeah,
Yeah.
And they may not want, Joe and his brother and family to know. So it's interesting.
it is pretty interesting because I think there's a lot of people that don't know or don't think about it that way. They don't realize that. Because you see it on TV, you just think that everybody's like, "Oh yeah, come on in, man, come investigate my house."
Yeah, I
No.
mean,
So
many of the private residences that we actually investigate, and we've done many in Western North Carolina, reaching as far as Tupelo, Mississippi. That's their thing. It's like, okay, you can tell my story, but don't tell them where, don't tell them my name, don't tell them specifics. But yeah, share the story. And that tends to be the common theme is, yeah, the story's awesome, or yeah, you guys can learn something, or we can teach other people about something, or just the experience in general is what's important.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're gaining knowledge, you're gaining research, and you're gaining experience, and that's in itself is amazing. But providing privacy and confidentiality for these people and these clients, that's important because that keeps their safety.
Does working within those limitations, though, like, because I can see, or at least imagine, someone being so private but still needing help. Does it cause you guys any restrictions or difficulties in getting these investigations going?
I think the only thing that really changes is when somebody wants to keep the investigation quiet.
Mm-hmm.
We don't roll up in marked cars.
Okay.
We don't advertise anyway. We're not even wearing our own shirts.
Okay.
We go in just like we're there visiting, and when we're there, we do our thing. We keep it low key, and we just don't tell anybody about it. We've done some absolutely amazing investigations that we can't talk about.
And see, that's so funny, because going back to what we were saying at the beginning of the podcast with the whole, it's not like it is on TV. And the first thing you see on TV, they roll up in like a blacked out Escalade, and everybody's got the crew T-shirt on. And on top of the 8 people you see get out of the car, there's at least 20 assistants or photographers and stuff like that. So it's like an entire entourage. And I can imagine that showing up someplace in the country, and like, oh my God, who are all these people?
Well, and think two thoughts to that. But think, one, how intimidating is that?
Yeah.
Right? One, a lot of people who are having this issue or whatever are scared. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully scared.
Oh, yeah.
Whether and whether it's because it's the unknown, or they don't understand what's going on, or they're just in some cases fear for their life or their physical safety.
Yeah.
So doing that is, I think, can exacerbate any of that kind of fear. Two, the privacy and confidentiality is not the case all the time. I'll actually drop a bomb here. There is actually a hair salon in Marion, North Carolina, that they want us to tell their story. They want to be known. They want Picture Perfect Hair Salon. It's on Depot Street in Marion, North Carolina. I gotta drop it for them,
Yeah.
because these ladies are awesome.
Yeah.
And we've investigated there a couple times, and we've gotten some great stuff over there. But they want it. They want people to know. They want us to share their story, and we do. We got one of our best pieces of thermal from
Ooh.
Yeah, so I mean, they love it, and so, like I say, that privacy and confidentiality is not always the case, but
Right.
for the majority, it is.
But that's also a good example of attitudes slowly changing.
Yep.
Not completely,
Yeah.
But that's, okay, so we have to go back and look at y'all's stuff from that, so cool.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just, I find it very funny when I see what happens on TV, and then I see you two talk about how you plan out some investigations, and I'm like, that's nothing like what they
It
do
seems
on the
like
TV.
what you see on TV is they're putting together the show.
Mm-hmm.
They're making a show, which makes sense. I mean, it's TV. But it just seems like, from the comparisons of conversations with you guys and the stuff and how you talk about going out and talking to somebody or investigating or what you do or how you do it is completely, I don't want to say different. It's sort of logical, matter of fact, it makes sense. And then when you watch these shows, it's kind of like sporadic, it's disjointed, and of course it has to be edited in a way to make it exciting. Otherwise, you're watching a bunch of people walking around in the dark.
Yeah, but it's literally like in that show, it's like a frantic phone call, hop in the van like a bunch of rescue squad people, and then suddenly everybody's got their K2s and flinging holy water and whatever, and you're like, that's not how this goes.
The thing about investigating the paranormal is it's a lot like fishing. It's the best thing I've ever heard. It's a lot like fishing.
Yeah.
You cast your line and you wait. They may not show up. You may have. I mean, we were when we were in Mississippi. Yeah. We were there for 4 days before anything happened.
Oh, wow.
And then when it did happen, oh my God, it happened. And that's one of those investigations that we can't talk about, but it was thus far probably the pinnacle of what we do.
It truly kind of changed the perspective, especially within myself, because I mean, I am skeptical myself. Not everything is paranormal. Not everything is a cryptid. Not everything is. Well, I mean, truly, seriously. I mean, and if you go in there with fantastical thinking that it is, then you're gonna see everything. But you have to go in there with a rational mind that no, it is the wind blowing. No, it is the door creaking. No, it is XYZ.
Yeah.
But that experience we had in Mississippi was definitely one of the things that, kind of solidified. I mean, I've had my own experiences, but that seeing and validating for somebody else in a way that was so personal was amazing.
And see, that to kind of build off of that, you walked in there with a healthy level of skepticism. I like to use that a lot. Healthy level of skepticism. But no expectations. And that's one thing I see, not just on television or on YouTube, social media, but just in general within the ghost hunting community. Because I'll look in the chats and things like that, and I'll see these people have this expectation. Does that expectation, and this is kind of a pointed question, do you think that expectation people have actually builds evidence or creates or generates its own possible evidence?
That is a loaded question.
Yeah.
Completely. There's several different comments and answers to that. One, I want to start out with, if it's somewhere that has been investigated multiple times, and this is a place that has like documented evidence from X group, Y group, Z group, and tons of personal, that might be a little bit different, because you kind of have to almost go in there with an expectation in those cases. Like, entity Jane in the upstairs bathroom always shows herself to a female, only a female. So, going into that investigation, how you place your investigators or what you're actually going to do may change. So we may only have a female up in that room because that is historically what has been documented as evidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Best use of your time kind of a thing. But on the other hand, if you're going in there saying, oh, we're going to see Entity Jane upstairs with a female, are you also adding energy to it? Are you also kind of building that almost tulpa entity, if that's what it is, giving it that energy, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you really doing here? Are you giving it a life of its own?
And and I mean, some of that though seems more practical. I mean, if it only shows itself to a female at 2 a.m. in a mirror, okay, let's go ahead. But the people who go in there and they're like, oh, we're definitely going to see it, and then the slightest tap on the shoulder or misphonia, or what is it when you accidentally hear noises? Pareidoia.
Yeah.
The slightest pareidoia automatically becomes evidence to some of these people.
Some of our best has come from the investigations where we have had no personal experience, but we got something at the end of it.
Wow. Okay.
See, that's one thing I've always wondered, because I know that if you go through and you record everything for the entire time you're there, 4 or 5 hours, even if it's for just 2 hours, that's a lot of stuff you got to go through.
Yeah.
I mean, like, can you imagine watching video from one camera for 2 hours, and then go and watch video from another camera for 2 hours, and then having to go back if you think you see something like that? I figured, and this comes from watching Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
Like the who, I can't remember their names now.
Whatever.
Yeah, they would say, "Okay, guys, see you later," and they would go away. And then you had the other guys just
Grant
sitting
and
there.
Jason.
Yeah, Grant and Jason would walk away, and then you had the tech guys just sitting there eyeballing footage for like 8 hours.
And that's kind of a to destroy the magic of TV. How long does it take for like? Okay, let me just ballpark this. Let's say you did an overnight investigation. If you had all the time in the world and had a free schedule, how long does it take to get through that evidence?
So your actual investigation time easily triples when it comes to looking at evidence.
Wow.
Because to put it in perspective, we have our DVR room. Okay, that's 4 cameras. You have to watch each camera individually. So if you have 2 hours of footage, that's 2 hours times 4 cameras. Plus any audio that you have out, plus any handhelds you have out, plus any, we use a SLS cam. So it adds up. It easily triples.
So realistically, a team of 2 or even a team of 4, it could take them almost 2 weeks to get through all the footage.
Easily.
And that's if they had a free schedule, know?
Easily.
See, and that's the one thing that...
Yeah, that kind of thing is not really communicated. It's like,
It's, yeah.
oh, they go to bed and wake up, oh, here's what we got.
One thing that does help, though,
Yeah.
and some of the shows do portray this, and it gets a little iffy because sometimes when you have so much going on at the same time, like 4 DVR cameras, it can get tricky, but actually having someone kind of watching at the same time you're actually investigating is helpful because then you're catching big stuff.
Yeah.
So, and if, not saying that all evidence isn't important, but I mean, when you've got like 6, 8, 10 pieces of huge things that have happened and you've marked, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You may focus really on those areas, right?
In other words, if the events that happen are big enough for you to catch them as it's happening, then that's
Exactly.
way bigger than watching, like, say, an orb fly by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have to also add the time in to go in and remove that footage
Edit it.
from that long piece of evidence. You clip that part out so you can separate it and look at it later.
Okay.
And let me retract that. When I say edit, I mean clip footage.
Okay. So like mark and clip in the
Yes.
photography
Yeah.
or videography world, you'd
Yeah.
mark and then clip. Okay. All right. But yeah, I'm just like 2 weeks because doing the math in my head. But going with that, so in the team, who reviews the footage? What's everybody's role?
Honestly, mostly me
Yeah.
and Mary helps.
Okay.
We bring it to Tess when we have something, and she has broken my heart.
Oh.
And it still hurts deep
Yeah.
down. We call her the debunker.
I don't know why they call me that.
Well, and when we go into an investigation, when we go into anywhere, the first thing we do is try and debunk. We want everything to be paranormal. Unfortunately, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you look at your evidence, that's what you're doing. You're looking at a rational explanation. When you find something that don't have a rational explanation, then you might have something. When we find something good, we take it to Tess. Tess looks at it. I thought for certain that we caught the Holy Grail. I thought we had
It was so good.
a full body apparition of a little girl.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, oh my God.
Eye shine, shadow, everything. It
I
was
stared at this for probably 45 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Right? I'm just excited. So I send it to Mary. Mary's like, oh my God. So we're all just incredibly excited about it. And Tess comes home. She goes, let me see it. So she looks at it for about 10 minutes and she goes, no, it's not. And then she proved why it's not. And I'm still heartbroken over it. And that was one of our, probably our third investigation.
well, yeah. Well, that was it was actually an investigation at MACA.
Yeah.
But they, long story short, upstairs they have this, and they've given us permission to talk, kind of about our investigations there. But upstairs they have a dressing room type closet. It's a huge room. They've got all kinds of outfits and just it's
Like a wardrobe.
yes, like a wardrobe for actors.
Yeah.
Right.
MACA is the McDowell Arts Council Association, and so they actually Foothills Theater and actors work out of their space, their
Right.
building.
Yeah.
So a whole bunch of costumes and everything up there, and the picture was taken down I don't want to say a hall, but like kind of in between these racks. And so you see a lot of clothes hanging on the side and everything. There's a huge window kind of at the back, but you don't see it in the picture. And so there's a lot of shadow. This was like evening time, so there was still some daylight, still some sunlight coming through. Looks like a little girl. Looks like you see eye shine, you see some shadow going on. You're like, holy crap, this is a little girl.
Yeah.
And we always take pictures in sequence. We try to do 3 at least. Sometimes we kind of slack off and only do 2, but we try to do at least 3 in a row, just so that we have, a before and after.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Well, there was a before to this picture. And kind of analyzing it and looking at it and looking at this one and looking at it again. The first picture showed literally the arm of an outfit, looked like the skirt of a little girl.
Yeah.
And then the eye shine ended up being sequins from one of the dresses.
Oh,
And it was just
man.
like, and it was just in the perfect spot. And so when the second picture was taken,
Yeah.
it was just at a very barely different angle, and it made this kind of optical illusion. And it was some stuff because it looked like it.
That's so. Oh,
It
wah,
worked.
wah.
It worked
Yeah.
out though because we use it
As an
present
example.
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of times, and we've been to a few events, and we use that as a. I can't think of the word I'm looking
Well,
for.
it proves legitimacy. We're not in
Yeah.
it. We're not in it to fake evidence. We could literally show that off
Yeah.
as real.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, people. But
Yeah.
we're not here. We're here to show what's real. We're
Yeah.
here to show things that we can't explain. And if someone else can debunk it, and if someone else can come in and say, no, it's really this, that's what we want, because then that's upping our skills and our ability
Yeah.
to debunk our own stuff, but also prove that what we have is legitimate.
And
Yeah.
that kind of leads into my next question.
Yay.
What do you think about your group, the dynamic, and your level of investigation? What do you think about it sets you apart from the other paranormal investigation groups in the region? So,
For us, professionalism, I
Mhm.
think, is at our utmost. And it's important. And so we don't charge for investigations. We do accept donation. We don't charge.
oh,
We go into it as if this is one of the most serious things we've ever dealt with, and we're going to take it just as serious as the client or the person who's requesting our assistance. We are covering our bases. We're making sure that they're comfortable, whether they want their confidentiality and privacy respected. Sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit, but
No, you're
it's-
fine.
I think what happens is we find a lot of people who, and I don't want to say amateur, because I even consider us amateur paranormal investigators. I mean, we all are. Like, no one, unless you've been doing this for like 20, 30 years, I think you're an amateur at anything, right? So, but when we go into it with a level of professionalism and seriousness that I don't think a lot of other groups kind of bring to the table.
okay.
And I don't mean that negatively. I think that it's just kind of where the cookie crumbles type of a thing.
So-
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying with that, because it's kind of like I have certain customer service skills
Yeah,
from
there you
a
go.
previous life, and
Yep.
I take those wherever I go, even if it's not something that we have or I have my heart in fully. I just have that level of professionalism with me constantly.
Exactly.
So-
And not to say that any other group is lesser or incapable, because there are many amazing groups out there. We've met some of them here,
Yeah,
and they're great. And
Yeah.
I mean, we met this group of 3 guys out from Black Mountain, and they're amazing guys, and they're smart. Come to find out, Daniel has a past life with one of them. It's kind of cool. But,
I think you mean history, not past.
well,
oh,
I grew
okay.
it's
up
all
with
mingled in there. It's all mingled in there. But anyway, so it's not to say that others are incapable or not there, but really coming in to help or take it serious.
And
right?
that your professionalism shows
Yes.
through the people you've worked with.
Correct.
So
And I actually kind of want to bring in another thought to that too. Coming into this, Daniel and I especially have a heavy background in psychology and healthcare.
Okay.
So that bedside manner is always there. My mom, working for a very help me out here. Prestigious.
Prestigious.
There
Yes.
it is, making up words again.
Yeah.
Prestigious insurance company. I mean, she was an insurance claims counselor for 36 years.
Mhm.
So, I mean, she's dealing with doctors and lawyers. She knows how to talk. This woman's been in court. So, I mean, she's on it all the time.
Not to make like a total nerdy healthcare joke, but it's almost like you guys are bringing HIPAA into the world of ghost hunting.
100%.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like,
I mean,
protect-
our confidentiality forms and documents, we have people sign them before we're even starting the interview.
And that's something else too. We
Yeah.
are not just a random group. We're an LLC.
So
We are insured. We're in this. It's obviously not making money because we don't charge. That was the reason that the Shop Ecclectic was started.
Right.
Is to help fund it because equipment, time, gas, it's all expensive.
yeah.
Right.
But we're in it to help. We want to prove the paranormal. We
Mhm.
want that proof of the paranormal. But we've all had experiences. I've had experiences since I was 5 years old that range through all kinds of stuff. And my experiences helped me become who I am. They were positive for me. That's not the case with everybody. There's some people out there that have had a paranormal experience and have PTSD from it. And they
Okay.
can't go and talk to anybody because you talk to a counselor or a
Yeah.
psychologist.
Who are you supposed to talk to about something like that?
Yeah.
M&D Paranormal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously.
I mean, because and see, that's part of the thing that we've been talking about because we've been kind of talking for a while about having different ideas and things and being able to go and talk to other groups or other people who are interested in different facets of this whole 4T and paranormal thing. And for the most part, unless you actually know someone who actually knows someone else, then how do you find the information out? Where do you get it from? What's legit? What's not legit? You wind up searching the internet, and at the end of it all, you don't really know. So that person that's having an experience that they can't explain or they want help, to maybe have some kind of explanation as to why they're experiencing what it is, and then maybe something to help that, whatever that situation may be. There's nobody to really talk to,
And that's the one thing.
because if you go,
yeah.
hold on, if you go to like okay, so if you had a weird experience where you kept getting scratches on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then you wind up having these scratches, and you go in and get looked at, and you like go to the emergency room and say, "Hey, I'm getting these crazy scratches," and they say, "Well, what do you think it is?" Or what have you been doing? Or because they're going to ask you questions as to try to get an idea what the scratches can be. You have a cat or whatever, right?
Mental health.
Yeah, and you're like, "Well, I just wake up with them," and then that just opens up even more questions and even more questions. And I mean, I totally get why people don't talk to, people about this sort of thing.
I do want to bring in something to that. You are so right, and that is a stigma in mental health and
Yeah.
healthcare in general. But I think especially kind of in the world of social work and like psychological treatment, like actual therapists as opposed to like medical care,
Yeah.
I think they're starting to, and just because I work in it now, I work in community mental health, I work for an agency right now, I think there's starting to be a shift in spirituality as
Yeah.
being a facet of whole-centered and patient care. Like,
Yeah.
so it is changing professionally. They're realizing that spirituality is such a major, intricate part
Yeah.
of whole-centered care. But how do you separate the two, right? Like, how do
Yeah.
someone someone is diagnosed with schizophrenia, may hear things or see things
Yeah.
legitimately. That is a medical condition. That is a psychological diagnosis. But how much of that is going to play into their spirituality?
Yeah.
There's also the thought process too that when somebody has mental health issues, they're so much more open than we are because their mind is just
It's wide open.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so they're going to be more susceptible to the paranormal. But how do you differentiate between that psychosis and what is actually paranormal?
And how do you do it safely
Yeah.
is the most important, because
Yeah.
I've worked with many, many people who I've actually working with someone right now who they enjoy their internal stimulus. And when I mean internal stimulus, I'm talking about voices in their head, and I'm talking about their hallucinations. They're not taking their meds. They need to take their meds, but they're not. So how do you do this in a safe way? I mean,
that brings up something else too. Like, okay, so what if you all of a sudden out of nowhere you're having an onset of experiences, right? As something maybe you've never experienced that kind of thing before, and now you're having those experiences. I mean, can you imagine? It's like, if you started having experiences like that, who would you talk to? Where would you go to? I mean, you might think that there's something going on with you that you might need to go get some kind of medical attention, and you know what I mean. So it's like, and that would be scary because if you're sitting there and you're in your house and all of a sudden you start hearing random voices or have things going on, at what point do you think maybe I'm just mentally ill or I need some kind of help? Would you even want to get help?
Or do you?
I mean,
or do I
call
there, you guys?
You're like, man, am I freaking crazy or what? And then, so what are you going to do? You're going to get a friend to come over and see if they experience it. And, it's like fishing, like you're saying. So what if your friend doesn't experience it? And your friend's going to be like, hey, man, I think there's something going on with you, bro. You know what I mean? I could just totally see how this can turn into a thing. But having somewhere or like a legitimate, like you guys, with the confidentiality forms and all of that stuff, being real serious with it, I think would make people more apt to want to reach out and talk to somebody or reach out to you guys and say, hey, look, because if you guys are treating things like it's legitimate and a legitimate concern by the person that's bringing it to you, see, I think that's great because I know there's a lot of places that don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, and and the trick is too that you have to combine both paranormal and medical. They go hand in hand in a lot of cases.
They really do.
And the example that I prefer to use because I've experienced it most of my life is sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Sleep paralysis it's frightening. I mean, and that is such an inadequate word for what happens.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
But there is a scientific, proven medical reason why it happens. Now, most people that have sleep paralysis always report an entity in the room. I myself had the hag, called the old hag syndrome.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Does she cause the sleep paralysis, or does the sleep paralysis invite her in? That's the question. However, the two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I have actually had sleep paralysis, and I had it for a 6-month period. And for me, it was the paralysis first, and then it wasn't an old hag, but it was a shadow person. I'll just say that. It was more of like a shadow person thing. As soon as I got a medical condition taken care of, eventually the sleep paralysis went away. But the experience was so traumatizing, I fell back on spirituality because I felt so unsafe, and it took a long time to figure out what was going on.
Well, and that goes back to what Tess was saying. A whole person centeredness, spirituality, emotional, physical.
Mm-hmm.
They all have to be lined up, or you're not. If they're out of line, something in your life is going to be out of line. Just like when I get stressed, I get a sinus infection.
Okay.
It always
Everyone
manifests.
has their thing.
Yeah.
And does that analysis that you both have just given, does that kind of further into the investigation? Once you've done your investigation, is that a part of what you offer? Like that whole body or whole mindedness, or the broad approach at what's going on in their life?
So we are medical professionals.
Mm-hmm.
We're both licensed CNAs.
Mm-hmm.
We're not nurses.
Yeah.
I do have a degree in psychology, but that is not any kind of like medical degree.
Mm-hmm. So it's more of an advice, maybe?
I even fear to call it advice.
Okay.
But I will be willing to tell someone, hey, I think you may want to go see somebody. I am not afraid to say that. And hopefully with the rapport that we've built with the people that we're supporting,
mm-hmm.
They're finding that kind of, I don't know, it's not gratifying, but hopeful, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have maybe just debunked the spirituality part of it or the paranormal part of it. So maybe I do need to go see somebody.
So, and it's less about we've used the word confidentiality like 20 times.
Yeah.
More towards building that trust
that rapport,
and
for sure.
Proving that you are an organization that people can confide in.
Yes.
So that's okay. That works. That's cool. That's like,
Very nice.
yeah.
So we had a bunch of questions to ask, and I think we're just going to have found a better way to
Yeah, we
better
had
path to go down.
we
really.
had questions just written out.
Like, and we're going to talk about some of them, but for the most part, just to make sure everybody understands, M&D has 3 core people, right?
Yes, I apologize.
Well, no, because we've actually, so it's obviously you, Tess, and then Daniel sitting over there, and you hear him talk, right? And then there's also Mary,
Yes.
Mhm.
and Mary owns the shop,
Yes.
right? Shop Ecclectic, and she's part of this as well. So it's kind of weird. All you guys are family doing this family thing and have a family shop, and you have careers outside of the family shop
Yes.
doing this family thing. And that was what, when we first met and started talking about it, I was trying to wrap my head around the whole thing, and I'm like, that's just kind of weird.
It's super confusing.
Yeah, but when you see all you guys kind of talking together and sort of like, hey, we're going to do this, and we need to do this, and we need to take care of that, and make sure you got this, and for whatever, it makes sense because it works with you guys. You know what I mean?
Thankfully.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing we noticed is like, okay, you're all on the same page, you're all on the same sort of, you kind of know what has to happen to go out and do what has to be done. Whether it's an investigation or talking to somebody about certain things. And I like that dynamic between, you and Mary and Daniel all together kind of doing the, what needs to be done and how it has to happen. I just think it's kind of rare. And then you got the shop and this whole thing. And we were just like, this is just weird. But it makes sense now. Now we've kind of like hung around a little bit and kind of see how things are going with you guys and really where your interests lie. I think it's a great thing. And I think it's a rare thing because just, from people we know and from places we've been and from things we've seen, it's just like, it's not like that. You know what I mean? It seems to be, I don't know.
If it hadn't been for Mary, none of this would have happened.
Oh, for sure. She is the glue.
Oh.
It happened.
She is.
It happened all because of her.
Yeah.
But I will say that we are the 3 founding members.
Right.
All right. But we have an incredible group of 8 people.
So it started as us 3, and then we gained 2, and then we gained 2 more, and then we gained 1, and then we gained 2 more. So now we're up to essentially a group of 11 people. Not all 11 of us will go on an investigation at one time.
Okay.
But it's really great to have this kind of unique dynamic because everyone brings something different to the table. Like we have 2 people who they are low key, down to earth, like not. I mean, they're serious, but they're just really kind of feeling it and just there and love them to death. But they're not going to go on every investigation,
right?
Or their unique personalities, amazing personalities, may not click with someone that we do have an interview with,
right?
And vice versa. Not saying that sometimes I don't need to go. I've actually backed out of a few investigations because, I could be a trigger or Daniel or my mom. And so
that's also where our background in psychology and mind and substance abuse comes in real handy.
Yeah.
Because the first thing we do is we do an interview with the client. And through that interview, we can tell, well, this personality and this personality is not going to fit.
Right.
So let's bring these 2 people instead. So we're very blessed. We have a great group of people around us. We've met some amazing people through this journey, and it's only been, a year and a half, something like that. And it's been brilliant, but we're able to pick and choose.
And see, that's kind of nice compared to...
So you've got the resources.
Yeah.
The magic of television again, where it kind of seems like certain personalities kind of get shoved down people's throats, and instead you are tailoring it to the person's experience.
Yes.
And like today, I think I learned one of your members of the team has like an EMS background. That's super
Yes.
helpful.
Amazingly helpful.
That's
Yeah.
unique. And I'm like, wow, okay, it's a well-rounded team. That's pretty awesome.
That person is actually a physician's assistant too.
Oh,
Yeah, so she's got a lot of medical and mental health background as well. So It's a
Very
thing.
nice.
I got a
Say it.
splinter and I heard a voice.
for real.
Yeah.
She's got your back.
Yeah.
The voice told me not to take the splinter out.
Yeah.
What should I do?
Should take it
And
out.
now it's festered.
Gross. That's terrible. That's a terrible thing to say. Festered. I don't think we've ever said that in a podcast and meant it.
Pustulate.
Oh. All right, you're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
The goal of M&D Paranormal is to compassionately, knowledgeably, and professionally support and offer paranormal services to those who have been affected by a paranormal experience, including those who have been indirectly affected. Services provided include paranormal investigation, property research, and evidence review of residential, business, and private property locations. Cleansing of these properties are available upon request. No matter the circumstances of the paranormal experience, M&D Paranormal strive to offer a non-judgmental environment to promote education, open communication, and empathy to each individual that chooses to share their experience or come into our service. In achieving this goal, M&D Paranormal is building and bringing together a community of open and like-minded individuals by offering free monthly gatherings and events at the Shop Ecclectic, 49 State Street, Marion, North Carolina. Call us anytime at 828-484-1637 or 828-559-2818 or email us at mndparanormal@gmail.com.
Audible is an audio entertainment that entertains, educates, and inspires. For you, the listeners of the CreepGeeks podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/cheapgeek. Again, that's audibletrial.com/cheapgeek for your free audiobook.
Hello? Hello, we're back. How's everybody doing?
Really?
Yeah. That's the old mic wasn't on. So it's an organic podcast. So where else can you have a podcast where you can sit around and listen to a bunch of people talk about stuff, having a good time?
Do a decent commercial.
That's right. But that was the most professional part of the whole thing was your commercial. I don't know. Personally, I like listening to podcasts where the people are excited enough to talk to each other and you kind of forget there's an audience involved.
Okay.
Yes. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, because then you feel like you're involved in something. At least I kind of.
We are involved.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that
Everybody's
good thing?
included.
all inclusive?
Yes.
Like a buffet. We got a little bit of everything here.
All right.
This music is nice. I like it. Okay, so getting back with M&D, talking about some more things. That's the abbreviation of pretty much what they do, which is kind of funny because they do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then everybody says, have you called M&D yet? You got to talk to M&D. So it's much more involved in that. You know, which kind of, when you look at it, you see such a small part, like even on television, you see a small part of what actually goes into doing the whole thing. Then you actually talk to people who actually do this, and you realize that the small stuff that they talk about and what it takes to actually get to that small stuff. You know, you talk about what you've seen, what you've experienced, what you like. All of that background stuff, the planning, you know, the packing gear up, the equipment, getting set up, getting people all coordinated because everybody works and has jobs. All that coordination and everything that happens to go into do an investigation. Then having like 11 people to pull from. All of that stuff, it seems like a tremendous amount of work.
Like it don't all happen in a commercial break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's just a tremendous amount of work to go out there and do an investigation, and you guys are doing it for no charge.
Correct.
So it kind of tells me you kind of have to be in to what you're trying to do. I mean, you've got to be in it, man.
Yeah.
This is the second job that I work that I don't get paid for.
Yeah. This is not like, well, I got on Amazon and bought me a Chinese knockoff K2 meter. I'm ready to set the world on fire, right, and go investigate. So it has to be, I think, a lot more than just that, you know, for actually to be into it, because we've seen things and talk to people where that's exactly what they've done. They went out and they bought some junk off Amazon and want to tell everybody about their adventures, which is okay. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it seems like if you want to be legit and treat this in a way that it should be treated, you kind of have to put a lot of work into it. You got to put a lot of homework into it.
So
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And like when we've seen and talked, like we use the Navajo Rangers because those guys were cool to talk to. They were very methodical in what they did. And because what they did was they pulled their background from being basically cops, federal cops. And they used everything, their methodology, their whole way of doing things was all based off the experience that they had. And you guys are bringing some medical into it.
It is that I was actually going to say law enforcement officer. This is my personal opinion. Law enforcement officers and medical professionals are the best paranormal investigators.
Yeah, because you guys see some weird stuff to begin with.
Yes.
You know, because people do some weird things.
People do some really weird things.
So when you see it and you're kind of like, okay, and people are like, oh my God, there's really something wrong. And it's like, no, I've seen that before.
I saw that last Tuesday.
Yeah, I got that. That's not
For
a
real.
problem. Here's what the deal is, right?
Yeah.
And which kind of is good because it just goes towards, if you guys really see something that's super wiggy and like wigs you out, then it's obviously something crazy and not the norm, you know?
I would
Whereas
agree
if
with
I
that.
go out there and we're doing an investigation, I'm with you and we're doing an investigation and that curtain moves for no reason, I'm out. Right? And then come back in later on, or like, hey, you going to come back in? Or like, no, man, I think it's moving. It's like, well, there's a floor vent blowing a curtain around, right?
Exactly.
You know, that's the kind of thing. So
Can I actually tell a funny story about one of the first residential investigations that we had? Do you remember? My mom's
We went through so many.
mom's close friend at the time.
Go ahead, tell it.
So this was actually an outside investigation. Holy jamoly. This was like the hardest thing we've ever done. So it's outside. It's like mid-June. It's muggy and hot, and there was just all kinds of wrong. We learned so much from that experience. Like,
yeah.
not even joking. We actually got some good personal experiences out of it for the people we were trying to help, but still hard. It was me, Daniel, and my mom, and then my mom had an acquaintance and a friend that she was actually, she's a great woman. She's an amazing person. She's super funny. And we were like, okay, yeah, you want to come with? Yeah, come on with. Blah, blah, blah. We were essentially kind of interviewing her almost in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, she was sitting in the car with the doors locked, crying.
Oh.
So we kind of knew right then and there, like, mom had to leave early and they left.
Yeah.
Because of that situation. So, like, it was really funny at the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not
but
for everybody.
it is not for everybody.
Yeah.
And Daniel and myself are just looking like shaking our heads like this was not a good idea.
I
Yeah.
keyed up my
But-
radio and I told her, I said, you do know ghosts can come through those doors, right?
Oh.
And it was
That's a
that
jerk move.
that was a jerk move. And
Yeah.
she started like screaming in the car
Look at-
right after that. It was incredible.
Looking back on it, I agree. I do apologize. However, it was funny.
It was totally funny.
Oh no.
At one point, I think the back door or the hatchback of the car I was driving at the time actually opened on its own, and that wigged her out.
I'd be
'Cause
done.
It was nuts. There was a lot going on.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just
That was
Super
also our actual first investigation as a group. And
first residential.
Yeah.
we weren't prepared. We weren't.
We learned
Especially for-
so much from that and it being we've never done well. I don't want to say we've never done because we have investigated outside after that, but we try to avoid it.
What was the one thing you think
because
you
it's
were
hot?
least prepared about?
It's because it was hot.
Yeah. See, people don't understand. Humidity
Yeah.
is a crisis problem.
But
And in the Southeast, I freaking hate it.
Especially
what
for
is the
people
one
who-
part of that
Oh, yeah.
that you think is the pivotal learning point from that investigation?
You have no idea how many extension cords we have now.
Oh, okay.
We have
We
That's a practical tip right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that ties into the question I was going to ask about gear. Like, you know, what's your favorite gear? What do you actually need? And it's funny you bring up extension cords because we're going to go do the Human Origins Conference because we're going out there.
You need some extension cords.
And hold on, one of the things that, after we talked to them and said, yeah, we're going to come on out, we're going to do the Human Origins Convention, they gave us a list of things you may need. And one of those was like a 150-foot extension cord,
How many
which
of
weighs
those
like
do we have?
700 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like the small stuff like that I don't think people realize that you only get that sort of experience of what you actually need based off of actually doing it.
Yes.
Right. So we went out and bought this 100-foot extension cord. It was only 100 foot. Only to realize that we're going to be like 3 feet away at our setup.
Hey,
The wall plug is like right there.
but does that really matter? Because now you have a 100-foot extension cord.
Well,
for when you go to the next conference,
You were
where
absolutely
you are 100 foot away.
absolutely right. But the problem with the 100-foot extension cord is that it's heavy.
It is heavy.
Yeah, and you have
So-
to shove all of it under the table, and then you're stepping on it the entire time.
We take a foot locker full of these heavy-duty extension cords with us on most investigations.
Yeah.
We literally have this huge contained locking.
Yeah.
You talk about heavy. That thing's probably 150 pounds.
Daniel
Easy.
Does it
carries
have
that.
wheels?
Yeah, but they're not good.
Okay.
That's why Daniel carries it.
See,
For those of you who don't know, Daniel is a very large man.
is
You
Like-
notice?
like big man.
definition of Carolina mountain man. So
Well, I mean, you're big to me. I'm a big guy. You're big
He's
to
a,
me.
he's a hairless Bigfoot.
That's inappropriate. I'm going to have to ask you not to speak like that. A hairless Bigfoot.
Hey, hey.
That's even more inappropriate. So speaking of inappropriate, what's the most inappropriate thing you've seen on an investigation from somebody who's a supposed expert?
ooh,
Provoking.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because why would you want to provoke? I don't understand.
Well,
I mean, I get it. I mean, I get it to get the reaction, that kind of thing. But
but provoking and then making light of it.
yeah, and then leaving. So
Oh, I
if
never
there really
thought about
is
that.
something
Yes.
there, you stir it all up and get it all worked up, and then you just leave, and then
Yes.
whoever's there has to deal with
That is
whatever.
completely disrespectful.
but the making light of it, that's almost like you're getting into an argument with a living person, and then you're demeaning them during the argument. And in the paranormal world, you're demeaning something that is already an exterior force and already can touch people, turn off lights, cause emotional harm, physical harm. That's, I never thought of it
a
like
little
that.
disrespectful.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's not. So that's the one thing, you guys. Anything else?
Well, that's what she said. So,
I think I said it first, and she just agreed.
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's definitely number one. Number two is playing with things you don't understand. Ouija boards.
Yeah.
No. Let me go back because I think, yes, I agree with you to an extent, delving into something that you're not comfortable with or you're not knowledgeable about. But also understanding that you can't have the experience if you're not an amateur. Like, you have to be fresh
Mhm.
to have that first experience.
But I'm not talking about going out and, using a new piece of equipment. I'm talking about going out and trying to conjure something.
divination type stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, not even divination, but just, calling something forth. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
I am calling something forth via a Pinterest board. Or, I found this spell on Instructables.
The thing is, though, let me touch on that.
Yeah.
The thing is not what you're using, not where it came from, but the intention behind it.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's true.
Your intention is the most powerful thing you have.
So it could be that generic thing that you found online or something in the back of a book. But if your intent is true enough, it's going to cause that consequence.
Exactly.
Okay.
We as people are manifestors. We are so much more powerful
That's
than what we.
That almost sounds inappropriate. Manifestors. But I mean, it makes sense.
That's for later.
Yeah. It totally makes sense.
We're
if
so
you think
much
about
more
it.
powerful than what we allow ourselves to be.
And I'm pretty powerful.
You are.
I'm just saying.
This is a powerful group right here.
Yeah. It is
Just
pretty
saying.
powerful. It's
That's
powerfully
why there's
hot.
a lot of heat in this room.
I was going to say, it's powerfully hot in here. But I think that's the big thing about the Ouija boards, right? The Ouija board itself is just a cardboard board with a sticker on it, really.
Exactly.
But the intent behind it is where it draws into, because
You're
you don't need a Ouija board to do this stuff anyway. But
You're basically saying, look, I invite you here.
yeah,
I invite you in. But the thing is, people don't. They're not clear enough on what they're inviting. They invite everything. It's just like, oh, I'm here. Come get me.
yeah,
And then they don't know how to close,
yeah.
or they don't think to close.
Or they're not
Yeah,
protecting
they're not-
themselves
Exactly.
during the experience.
But see, I kind of
Hmm.
I see that point of view, and I kind of take it a step further though, because we as a collective, the human collective, we put so much energy into the belief of the
Yeah.
Ouija board, to the point of my modern example of the Ouija board is everybody going out and getting the supernatural tattoo on them.
Yeah.
That is a sigil. That is a
Yeah.
very old sigil. I appreciate they did the research in the show, but you got like little kids out there getting that tattoo, young adults, I guess, and they're getting that tattoo, and you're putting something with so much belief in it on your person without realizing the full consequence.
Well, at the same time, though, does it actually even work? If you yourself don't believe in the sigil that's on you or whatever you're carrying to protect yourself, does it actually work at all?
Yeah. Okay. So voodoo, somebody fully believes the voodoo,
Voodoo.
and they pass upon a poppet onto you or a little voodoo doll without you knowing. You're walking around without knowing the full consequence or even that you have a voodoo doll, and it's affecting you.
Well, that's because they believe. But what I'm saying is that
Okay.
if I get that sweet supernatural tattoo, but like lower back tattoo type thing, right?
Oh yeah.
If I don't believe in it, does it work at all, or is it just a sweet lower back tattoo?
I want to go back to the thought of intention.
A
Yeah.
supernatural tramp stamp.
Supernatural tramp stamp. I think there's a lot of women out there who would get tramp stamps for
Supernatural.
Okay.
supernatural.
I'm feeling slightly uncomfortable.
I'm a Castiel girl myself.
Oh.
Team Castiel. Woo. Yes.
Okay.
Anyways.
I just stopped.
Name drop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Little guy. You talking about the guy with the raincoat, right?
Yes.
That little guy, little skinny guy.
It's a duster.
Is it a duster?
I think it's a duster.
It's a raincoat.
The
only thing
I think you're a raincoat.
He doesn't have a top knot or the man bun on top, but come on.
You'd look
You
good
like
with
them
a man
sensitive
bun.
guys? Is that what it is?
I like them Nordic looking guys.
Nordic. He doesn't look like a
Well,
freaking
well,
Viking.
You're saying man bun. All you got to do is shave the sides.
That's true.
Nordic.
You can make a man bun out of anything.
The guy is like 2'5".
That's okay.
They have man bun extensions.
They
I
do.
saw that.
So does it come with like a chin strap? So it can, I want like a removable man bun,
Okay, so getting back to intent.
Yes, intent.
like elastic.
Well, and I think it kind of goes back. So, like people who utilize crystals for protection purposes or whatever specific purpose they're using them for, that is something that you have to put energy into. You essentially develop a personal relationship with that crystal, and you're cleansing it, you're utilizing certain properties of it, and this is going to help my anxiety. You're going to develop that relationship, and it is intention. It's
So
energy.
if you don't have the intention behind it, then there's no point in doing it.
Or there's not going to be a significant consequence if you get that tramp
I
stamp
would
tattoo.
agree with Omi.
So,
Because there are things, so like sage.
yeah.
White sage is a cleansing herb. That is literally what it does.
It's also
It
antibacterial.
is also an antibacterial.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're gonna when you're smudging, you're utilizing your fan, you're doing your thing, you're cleansing the room, you're cleansing a person. It's still cleansing whether you believe it is or not, because you're utilizing the property of the herb itself.
Okay.
All right.
If you put intent to it, it's probably going to make it more powerful, or it's probably going to make it more effective. But
The effect is directly connected to the level of intent. If you're just doing it because I saw somebody else do it, then it may work. But if you're doing it because you believe in it, then it'll work 100
even
times
more.
better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yep. That's kind of what I was wondering. It's kinda like,
So yes, get that tramp
yeah.
stamp.
So you don't need like so you can't really be a hot topic spiritualist, basically.
You can be whatever you want to be.
You're supposed to say it's the intent behind it.
It is the intent behind it.
So You can be whatever you want to be, butterfly. Fly away.
Fly far, far away.
It's like far, far away. Okay, so if you, we kind of asked this question earlier, but not to you guys, but to your mom. But if you only had one piece of gear to carry on an investigation, what would it be? Take all the time you need. You have 2 seconds.
That's a really hard question. So, personally,
Mhm.
sorry, that was super loud. Pee. But personally, I don't even know. Earlier, I said camera.
Mhm.
I'm actually going to change my mind now.
Wow, see, look at you.
I'm going to change because so I'm a very visual person. For me, visual validation is some of the best validation. So I'd probably actually say a K2.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know what a K2 is, what's a K2?
A electromagnetic, essentially, reader.
It's an EMF reader.
It's an electromagnetic field detector.
Yes.
Thank you for
The
being
theory-
professional about it.
The theory is that spirits, when they manifest, they create an electromagnetic field, just like every living person.
Every person on the
Yeah.
planet.
So,
Well, it actually goes past every living creature. Every
It's every
creature, everything has some degree of electromagnetic force.
Okay.
And they call those lines of force flux.
Me learning right now.
Yeah. And like, for example, when you put like quartz crystal under pressure, its electromagnetic field becomes amplified at certain frequencies and things like that. So everything has it.
it can also cause what's called the piezoelectric.
Right. Which creates energy from that compression.
There's a lot of man
Nerd
talk.
talk.
happening right now.
Oh,
Nerd talk.
It's called science, ladies. It's science talk. Man talk. How dare you?
Nerd talk.
So,
A lot of big boys in this
okay,
room.
so you would bring a
Okay.
K2 or
Yeah.
electromagnetic EMF detector, field reader. Very nice. What about you, Daniel?
I would probably bring a camera. Honestly.
Ah.
Because I want that visual evidence. I want something for Tess to debunk.
Yeah.
He's so sweet. That's going to be my Valentine's Day gift.
You debunk me.
I wish you would put
Nice.
that on a card.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think a camera, either that or my SLS camera, because I
Yeah,
use the
that's
depth
really cool.
perception. It's new to me, and I don't think I've ever seen many people use it. And it's
Okay,
yielded-
so what is that? What is an SLS camera?
it is a camera that uses 3D mapping to create a stick figure.
Oh, that thing.
Yes. that
Okay.
thing.
Just tell them what it is.
And the software that I downloaded with it also has a depth perception that you can use. It sees it's a modified Kinect camera,
Right.
so it's made to see and map people and movements. Now there are flaws with it. There's a lot of flaws with it. I'll be the first to admit that. I take some precautions to omit those flaws, but I'm really enjoying the depth perception part of it. I've seen only what I can describe as orbs come through that depth perception that I cannot recreate. I have tried and tried and tried. And the interesting thing is that these orbs distort the stuff around it under this depth perception camera
Right.
as it moves. And this is video. It's not just a picture.
Right.
And I'm just completely intrigued by it right now.
That's a good. I thought of an answer too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
What is your answer?
it's kind of cheating though. A smartphone in airplane mode. So that way I don't have any interference from Wi-Fi or cell phone. Cell phones have built-in image stabilization. It's a camera. It's a recorder. I can also write notes on it.
Look at you being practical.
They even have on certain phones a little leveler. So if there's any vibrations, you can see it on the leveler.
And there's a bunch of ghost hunting apps that you could use too.
Yeah, but I have a problem with some
me
of those.
too.
Well,
So yeah.
Good.
yeah.
I like you.
Those only work to the capacity of the phone.
That's true. So
If the phone can't read EMF fields. That app is not going to read an EMF field.
True. That's why
true.
I wouldn't do EMF stuff, because I have some of those apps. I tested them. I actually had, like a little detector, and I had this, and it's like popping, and I sat there, I started timing it. Oh, every 90 seconds, this thing's gonna fake something.
Yeah.
So some of those ghost hunting apps, trash.
I think a lot of the apps are
But-
not good.
Yeah, but just the aspect of having a way to record my experience, try to film it, because cameras on smartphones these days, they're okay.
Yeah.
You
they
know?
are.
And then also something to write notes. Like, I can instantly switch from camera to go, okay, at 16 minutes at this time, I felt something touch my shoulder or something like that.
Well, heck, we
Yeah.
even use thermal off of the camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See?
plug
Off
them
the
in.
phone. Yeah.
But that's just,
What can I ask? What was my mom's? I know what it is, but I just want to know what she told you.
Spirit box.
Yes, of course.
She is the spirit box.
Yeah, she likes the
queen.
spirit box.
Yes, she does.
There's a couple spirit box apps that you can do with your phone, but
The only thing that I would
um,
use a phone for,
you kind of have to have headphones plugged in so that your phone will actually do
Yeah.
an FM
yeah.
radio, which is probably not the best. I think that the AM frequency range was probably better for doing that kind of thing now.
Yeah.
Versus FM. So
audio, video, and recording are the only things that I would really use a phone for.
yeah.
Okay.
And then even then, some phones record audio better than others. It really
Yeah.
sort of depends on the app and what you're using to record audio.
I would just use the built-in thing on my phone.
Well, I
So-
mean, yeah, but,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's certain devices that actually have the app that you use is better suited towards the phone's physical hardware.
Okay.
So I think you probably get a better result. But I was trying to think about like what would I bring, and with me it's the camera, because I wouldn't go without it. I'm gonna have the camera, I'm gonna have the microphone, I'm gonna have the whole deal. So
Yeah.
and I'm gonna modify, or I'm gonna actually listen so I can hear my audio, and record the audio while I'm doing it. So I would have to have a camera, and it would have to have a microphone. But my answer earlier was a flashlight.
Oh, why?
Definitely. a
So
good
I don't
thing to
fall
have.
down, some steps or something.
Blactical.
Yeah, a tactical flashlight or a cheap flashlight painted black so it looks like tactical. So we call that blactical.
Yeah.
It would be a flashlight, because that's great if you've got all the gear in the world. But if you're in the dark and you're trying to do your thing and you step the wrong way, or you might step on a nail, or if it's like in a place that's old and abandoned, or you might fall through something, or you might bust your head on something. I mean, that'd be embarrassing to be out there doing your thing and come back with a big knot in the top of your head because you weren't paying attention.
My phone has a built-in flashlight.
Okay, that's
Not
great.
all investigations happen at night.
See, that's true. But
Right.
all the ones you see on TV, they all happen at night, Tess. Only at night.
The number one.
Only.
And only from the hours of midnight to 3 a.m.
That's right. See, you can't just show up at like 9 o'clock at night and go, I'm ready to investigate. You got to wait for 3 hours. There's rules. It's TV rules to paranormal investigation.
I think they fake them hours.
They probably
I know,
do.
right?
So they're probably like, okay, it's like 4 o'clock.
I
in the
know this is
afternoon.
fake because their checkout time at
Right.
the
Yeah.
Hyatt is going to be.
The number one piece of equipment that you need on an investigation is your own intuition.
Oh, look at him. I knew he was
Agreed.
going to do something like that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All in is your brain and an open mind. Oh, come on, man.
Third eye.
Yeah. Very nice. You were going to say something. Go ahead. You were ready.
A lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one.
I do.
I think offerings are very important.
I'm with
depending on the
Daniel.
situation. When
I don't hear
Okay, so-
people say that a lot. though.
Yeah, so why would you...
Yeah.
One, you may want to, and provoke is not the right word, but kind of maybe, hey, come out here. I have tobacco, or I have liquor, or I have a cigarette, or I have a toy or candy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you can also use it as like an appreciation tool or a thank you tool. You're showing respect. You're bringing something
And for
in
me,
return.
for me, though, that kind of builds into a gray area between summoning with an
True.
offering or building energy and building a presence that may not have been significant, but now it is. There's a couple places in Nashville, and there's a couple places in New Mexico where offerings are given to a supposed presence or paranormal phenomenon, and the fact that those gifts keep being given adds to the paranormal experiences that people have there. So
I'll use St. Albans Sanatorium as a really good example. So St. Albans is one of those classic, everyone's been there, everyone's investigated, everyone's had certain experiences, yada, yada, yada. There's like particularly marked pieces of evidence that you're ultimately going to get at the end of the night type of things going on. One of these things is, I want to say one of the stories is about a little boy who passed away in a certain room very horrifically. And so he has Jacob's room. And in this room, there are toys and candy and balls. And this is the same room we got one of our most amazing pieces of evidence.
Okay.
Actually, movement of one of those toys. But in that situation, and when I say offering, I kind of mean that lightly.
Yeah.
We brought something for Jacob specifically because that was historically what kind of drew him out. So on the floor, you see all these toys, you see all these trucks and cars and stuff. And what you didn't see was candy. My mom actually had candy.
Oh.
Okay, that does not surprise me at all. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me not a bit. Your mom has snacks, like on-demand snacks.
You want to tell everyone the story about the almonds?
No.
Oh, okay, then. So,
but she was ready.
She's always ready.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I still have almonds actually in my backpack. She loaded me up, man. You need to take these almonds.
But she brought candy.
She brought candy specifically for Jacob. Put it on the floor. We got one of our most amazing pieces of evidence. Now, I don't want to say that it's correlated. We could have gotten that evidence anyway, but a certain part of me wants to really believe that maybe that was kind of the push.
A better offering or a better suggestion of, look, we're here, here's something for you.
We just mean good. We don't,
I think
not. Yeah.
Offerings in that aspect are almost like good faith.
Yeah.
It's an offering.
We're not here to hurt.
It's an offering of friendship. It's, we're legitimately here. We just want to talk to you. We want to see you. We want to legitimize what's happening.
Well, and then think about it this way. So a lot of people feel that like items hold energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the sense of that piece of candy, my mom, inadvertently, probably knowing her, kind of bestowed that motherly kind of, I brought this just for you type of thing, right? Like she's known as the paranormal mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good intent.
Good, like
sat in the mom purse. She probably thought about it all day.
Yes, like
and then she was super excited to present it.
Yes.
So okay.
So I mean, and if we're talking really about energies here and intention, kind of bringing that into the paranormal experience and evidence gathering, could an entity, kind of build off of that? Like, could an entity really feel that energy?
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting thought processes.
I mean, that would make sense. I'm sure.
Because the first thing that came to my mind was...
Oh, yeah. Conjuring or,
or like Gilman Tunnels. Remember, everything ramped up out there.
Yeah.
But then the government started cracking down. Gilman Tunnels is a very weird area of New Mexico. It's these tunnels with little ramps that actually protect you from waterfalls and stuff like that. But everybody will graffiti this area. Heavily graffitied place. And it's marked full of different memories, sad memories, good memories. Hey, we all came out here my senior year.
Primarily, it was all positive.
Yeah. But then the other aspect was there was a little section where there was a Virgin Mary statue, and everybody kept putting candles right there.
Yeah, it's like a little shrine.
Yeah.
And there are reports of possible either cryptid howling or disembodied voices, especially when you pass through the tunnels. Well, a few years ago, the National Park Service decided to crack down on all the graffiti, and now suddenly the activity has died down. you're not allowed to put candles or new little Virgin Marys out there anymore because that's littering.
Yeah, and they painted it.
Yeah, and they painted the whole thing. So,
But generally, by and large, though, all the graffiti was really positive.
yeah.
And it's like, it had a sort of a good feeling to it. So it wasn't negative at all.
Yeah, but it was just strange.
And the graffiti was actually really good. It was like good quality graffiti,
Yeah, like there's a very cute whale
Like
mural.
The
It was
murals
kinda-
were neat. And they should have just left it. I don't really know why they painted it over
But
there. But
there was so much energy into making memories right there.
And plus, with the
then-
waterfall or the stream right next to it and the
Yeah.
heavy running water, it had a
Yeah.
lot of energy there.
Yeah.
Conductivity there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just noticeable that, from when we first visited the place and then second, fourth time, and then, maybe a year, we come back and we don't feel the same energy there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, is nothing being conjured? Is nothing being supported? There's no offerings out here. So,
Well, and nobody was going anymore. I don't know. It's just weird. It just seemed like it just kind of
Well,
died
that and the
down.
landslide happened, so it blocked it off from
Well,
human
yeah.
access for a while. So, yeah.
There's also another aspect to offerings too.
Mhm.
Not far from where we're at in Marion, a friend of mine that runs Asheville Cryptid Society and myself went to a place that we affectionately call the Haunted Woods.
Okay.
And I have personally been there now probably 4 or 5 times. It's an interesting place. When we went, we took an offering because I thoroughly believe that it's a holy place. It's native. There was all kinds of feeling
Mhm.
there, and I believe it was native. We made that offering as a peace offering. We're in your area, we're on your space, but we're here with good intention. We want to be friends.
Okay.
And I believe it helped.
You think it may have either protected you or allowed you passage while you
Yeah.
explored the area?
Yeah.
And see, that's the one reason I'm in support of offerings. I'm still on the fence on them, but in certain instances like that, I think that's if you don't want a negative experience or you do want some form of protection.
Yeah.
Okay, offering.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in some cultures, you do that anyway.
True.
Sure.
You make an offering to the spirits to, whether you want to communicate with them or if you
In
want to
many
remember
cultures.
them. I mean, a lot, most big cultures actually. Actually, I really can't think of any culture that doesn't. Really. I mean, off the top of my head, I mean, every religious, heavily, I won't say heavy religion, but every religion out there has some way to make offerings to spirits,
Yeah.
whether you're supposed to or not. Whether it's lighting candles, or setting out, different things, especially some of the, like a lot of the Oriental type cultures with the huge Buddhist temples and stuff. And you see all the millions of candles and Catholic churches and all the native stuff. I mean, every culture in one way or another has some way to, throw a little homage to your ancestors, if you will.
Well, even prayer is
Yeah.
intent.
Yeah. Kind of weird. It just seems kind of weird to do it to, like a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
But it makes sense, though.
totally makes sense.
I could see
well-
doing it if the intention is right, but
And think about it this way.
yeah,
He is a kid.
Yeah.
What does a kid want most when they're hurt or they're scared?
candy.
Comfort,
Mom.
mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
candy.
Right?
Yeah.
I like candy.
Candy
too.
and candy's good.
Yeah.
Candy's like,
Yeah.
right up there. But, I mean,
Mom.
Yeah,
Comfort.
that's true.
And Mary took it up a step. It's not just mom, it's grandma.
true.
Oh,
Like, she's,
That's a whole
Right.
different level.
she
Yeah.
is, like, legit.
That's another level right there.
Paranormal Nana.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nanaw.
Is
I don't
that-
think that's a real thing.
Yes,
I think
it
we
is.
just coined it.
Nanaw.
Mama.
Meemaw. That's the one I hate. Meemaw. It's like, come on, man.
So,
Paranormal Meemaw. That should be a show.
Oh, my
Oh,
my
goodness.
we're going to have a show.
I see the potential.
That's right.
okay.
And you got to have the crazy paranormal hair on top of
She
all of
already
that.
does.
I know. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So, besides Paranormal Mima, does M&D have anything like a teaser or anything you'd like to share with the audience?
Do you have any big news?
big news?
We've
upcoming
alluded to big
plans?
news in this podcast, and we're getting ready to wrap up the podcast. So do you have any big news that you'd like to share with all your big fans out there?
Well, we have had some people messages on Facebook about our gatherings and say, "Why are you so far away?" Well, obviously, we can't help that.
And these are the gatherings that happen
Monthly,
with different subjects, like the ones that we met you guys at and started coming to.
It's the second Saturday of each month. We have a new topic, possibly a new speaker. Sometimes we speak, sometimes somebody else speaks.
Very nice.
People are like, "Why are you so far away?" I'd love to come. So, with that in mind, we're trying to oblige. I'm going to start recording them. We're going to start putting them up. Tess and I are going to start doing some podcasting ourselves on different paranormal topics.
Ooh, very nice.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going to add all of that up there. And should be interesting when we can do some of our ticketed events as well.
Ooh.
So what do you mean by ticketed events?
We do ticketed events where we take small groups into a few places that have been nice enough to oblige us and do investigations.
So almost like a guided paranormal investigation almost?
Yes.
Ooh.
Not just a tour. We're not doing any, we are touring buildings, but
Yeah.
it's not a walking tour. You get to use equipment. You get to have the experience yourself.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Sweet.
And we've had
You know, and that's something too. I think a lot of people, because if you're listening right now, you're like, "Oh, well, there it is. That's how they get money," or whatever. Which is always like, I found out something from talking to you guys that I wasn't aware of. A lot of these places that you'd want to go to and investigate, they kind of want money.
They do.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that was a thing. I just figured it like, through, hey, do you mind if we go? Oh, yeah, sure. Come on in. Make sure you turn the lights off when you're gone.
Yeah.
Evidently, NA is not like that for a
Not
lot
at
of
all,
places.
no.
It's like, sure, come on in and give us money.
Exactly.
That-
And we have to.
And I don't think I've ever heard that in any of these shows I've ever watched.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're getting paid because it's a TV
Yeah.
show.
And what you've got to understand too is we don't charge much for this ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to cover the expense of saying, we would like to go investigate your building, and the building is like, okay, that'll be $500.
Right.
Pretty much.
See, that's crazy. I had no idea.
And we're not making money doing this. If
Yeah.
anything, we're losing money.
You probably should, well.
We're losing money, but we're gaining knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing it for the
And
exposure.
friends.
No.
That's actually a joke. That's like a film
That is,
joke.
oh my God.
When you make a movie or whatever, and they're like, hey, we need you to come work on the set. Just think of all the exposure you'll get.
Right.
It's like, yeah, because exposure fills a hole in my stomach. Right? Keeps my
Pretty
lights
much.
on. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
doing it because we like it, because we want to help people, and because we want to bring the paranormal. Well, not bring, but continue to bring the paranormal into the mainstream.
See?
Very nice.
That's an awesome mission right there. So, but-
Sweet. So, live streaming and recording and doing a podcast, that's in the future for M&D.
and we'll be putting links to all that
Yeah.
in show notes for this episode, and future episodes. So,
Very, very nice.
Yeah, because when you guys launch that, we're going to be like, ooh, everybody check this out. So,
Yes.
You can.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that I'm also already a part of another podcast as well.
okay.
Yeah.
It's fringeinvestigations.com.
Right.
But we want to, with the M&D, we want to go more paranormal. Whereas
Okay.
Fringe is a little bit of everything.
Right.
We want to go more paranormal. We want to talk more about what we do.
Yeah.
So the actual
Well, that makes sense.
investigations.
See, because like
research.
with our
Okay.
podcast, we talk a little bit about everything that we think to be weird or interesting. And one of the things that we like to do is, since we like it all.
Yeah.
And, we don't want to like specialize in any one thing to talk about. We think it'd be boring. And what we figured what we could do is like, wouldn't it be great to be able to meet like-minded people? We've said that like 100 times so far. Where we can find out about ghosts, and we can find out about cryptids, and we can find out about conspiracies, and find out about all that stuff, because we kind of like it all. And being able to meet people that are like that way, and maybe kind of call on them for resources and information is perfect for us.
Yeah.
So we kind of dig that sort of thing. But to actually go out and investigate, you kind of need to pick your poison to
Yeah.
really sort of, because everybody has jobs, everybody's working, everybody's time is precious. So you really sort of got to pick your poison, right? Like, where do you want to concentrate? And, I can see where keeping that sort of thing separate makes more sense, especially since that's where you guys have concentrated a lot of your resources. I mean, it makes sense to me,
Yeah.
for you guys to investigate paranormal. It's not like you guys are out there gathering all your gear and showing us how to bake a cake. Right. You know what I mean? So
Well, I have an amazing 2-egg cake that I make, just so you know.
You
sweet.
got them started.
I use 3 eggs.
Only 3?
Yeah.
For a
Yeah,
2-egg
two-egg
cake.
Nice. That's where that extra comes in.
But we, we also believe that the paranormal community should be just that, a
Same.
paranormal
A community. Yeah.
And we've been privileged to meet so many people and be involved in so many things.
Yeah. Cool.
Very nice.
So we will keep our listeners updated on when you guys launch some of the newer stuff that's coming out. And you can find that in the show notes for our episodes, as well as we'll put links on our website. So, but other than that,
And all the old Instagrams.
yes, the Instagrams. You guys have an Instagram as well, and we'll put the Instagram and the website, as well as the link to the event that's coming up. We'll put that in the show notes.
And most any events that we do are on the Facebook page as well.
See? Yeah.
And we
Very
have
nice.
some pretty good evidence and things up on Facebook and up on the website.
Very nice. And you guys just launched your website
Yes.
for M&D. What is that?
MNDparanormal.com.
Yeah.
And that's A-N-D?
MND.
Yeah.
MAND.
Oh.
A-N-D.
Yes.
Okay. Very nice.
.com.
Sweet.
So,
We actually have some news too, because we've been kind of collaborating a little bit here and there and doing some different things. And this is something I think we're all pretty excited about. I mean, you guys excited? You look excited.
Yes.
they look
So
tired.
I'm excited. Omi's
I
excited.
look like I want Mexican
Mary,
Food. She would
Mex-
like Mexican food, everyone.
food. Yes, Mexican food.
very nice. So what we're actually talking about here,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. This is going to be something that we've never heard of in this area before. It's basically what it is. It's going to be the first ever paranormal roundtable.
Woo.
Dunk, dunk, dunk. So on February 24th, is going to be, and this is at the Shop Ecclectic in Marion, North Carolina,
49 State Street.
49 State Street. It's going to be a live event. So you can come into the shop and shop if you want, or you can be a part of the live audience, or you can do both.
And you can be
And
a part of the online audience because it's going to be streamed live.
Yes, because that's what I was going to say next. And on top of being a live sort of event that's happening, it's not going to cost anything at all. Just come on down. It will be a live stream, basically an event that you can attend. So if you can't make it physically, you can certainly join in with the live stream. It'll be done on YouTube's, and the links will be everywhere, like in Facebook and things like that. And if you're here in person, you get to talk to the roundtable if you have questions. But basically, it's a paranormal roundtable that's going to have a bunch of participants, experts in their own field, if you will, and it should be some pretty spirited conversations about different things.
Yes.
And
Things
what
like-
those things are, we're not going to tell you until a little bit later on, but we'll give you a hint, like ghost investigations,
maybe past lives or cryptids, or
reincarnation,
just all the general Fortean subjects.
These are big hints.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe
very
a little,
good.
maybe a little woo woo in there.
Come
Yeah.
speak
Ooh.
to
Gonna
the
be-
paranormal nights.
exactly, of the round table, which will really be a rectangle table, but
But it'll be an open panel. You can ask your questions.
right, live stream. It
Yeah.
will have some slight structure to it because we can't, because things can happen where you just talk and talk. There's going to be some raffles.
Yeah.
Giveaway prize, swag,
So we'll,
snacks,
Lots of snacks.
lots of snacks.
Lots of snacks.
Maybe a little coupon or a little discount if you'd like something in the shop that you see. Like maybe you need some incense, like angel mist. That stuff smells pretty good. And the good thing is it's a place where you can actually show up, ask some questions. You see the conversation. It's going to be done live. It's going to be streamed live. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to be I'm excited because it's basically a bunch of people talking about paranormal, 14 subjects, all that sort of thing in one place. And it doesn't cost anything.
in
you know,
Western
to-
North Carolina.
To go to a conference or something like
Yeah.
that, you would pay. This is just like, come on in, have a seat.
Faux free.
for free
Yep, for free.
and have a cookie.
It's free to
Have a cookie.
attend,
Cookies.
judgment free.
Yeah.
We hope that you guys will show up. And we're looking at, the times are going to be in the afternoon. What time did we say?
So
2 to 4, right?
Yeah.
Is that the timing on that?
Yeah, the shop will actually be open. Normally we are not open on Sunday, but we will be opening for this event from 12 to 5 p.m., and then the event should be held between 2 and 4.
Yes.
We're working.
2 and
Working.
4-ish.
Yes.
Because it seems like things go a little longer, especially when the conversation is good. And if this is anything like the events we've gone to with the gatherings, it should be great. There's a lot of good input, a lot of people talking, a lot of people having like legit questions, and you know, that sort of seriousness with it and trying to learn more. The whole, it's been a really good experience. It's, you know, what you'd expect when you hear about gatherings and things like that. It's a bunch of wackos getting together and talking about weird stuff and it's not that way. You know, I keep saying that because we've had experiences where you show up somewhere and it's like straight up conspiracy, tinfoil hat, the whole thing, and people are just kind of out there to the point where you're like, this is more like normal people with these interests, wanting answers and wanting to talk about it, and I think it's great.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say normal like as in normal people, but you know what I
The
mean.
normies.
Yeah, just like regular people.
Tess is kind of weird.
Well, that's true.
I mean, aren't we all a little weird?
Yeah, we're all a little irregular. So, like the socks you buy, like it says irregular on them, you can't really find anything wrong with them. You're like, there's nothing wrong with this sock. And you put your foot in there, you're like, there it
You're
is.
saying like you could find all of us on the sale rack at TJ Maxx. is
Right,
what
we're
you're
all a
saying.
little irregular. So. But no, it's going to be a fantastic time. It is going to be the first ever paranormal roundtable in Western North Carolina, more specifically Marion, North Carolina. You should definitely come down and check it out, especially if you've made it that far in the podcast, which is we're rocking on an hour and something. It's going to be great. Fantastic. I'm super excited. Can you tell? So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can definitely call Shop Ecclectic. All the notes that we have, we'll have all that information in there for you. This, again, we've got a couple weeks. We will be talking about this more in great and agonizing detail, but it's going to be a good thing. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. What do you guys think?
I think it's going to be great.
It's going to be
Yes.
awesome.
It's going to be great.
Super excited.
And
Yes.
if you guys need to contact M&D Paranormal, or you have your own experiences that you feel you need to contact them, we'll also put their information in the show notes.
Yes.
Um,
What's a good email address for you guys if people would like to send you an email?
M&D paranormal@gmail.com.
That's pretty easy.
Yep.
Very nice.
And then if you guys want to contact the Creep Geeks, you can reach us, contact@creepgeeks.com, or like us on Facebook. Join the Facebook group. We have a fairly lively conversation in there. That'll be the Creep Geeks Facebook group.
Yeah. There's a lot of knuckleheads in there. It's great.
Otherwise, check the show notes. Thanks for listening. And I can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm about done. Do you guys have anything that you'd like to add?
Thank you so much.
Well, we hope you've had fun.
We have had fun. Always fun with you guys.
I like to have fun. It's great. Daniel, have you had fun?
I've almost been asleep.
Almost been asleep.
Don't say that.
So you've been so enthusiastically overwhelmed with this whole thing, your brain is shutting down.
Exactly.
You go into self-preservation mode.
No, really. I've had a great time. Thanks
So-
for having us.
You guys
This
have
is-
said such nice things.
Oh, very
Aw.
nice. See, right now, if this was like a real podcast, it'd be like, you guys have talked an hour and 45 minutes too long. To which them I'd say, we do what we want because we can. It's a good thing. So if you listen to the podcast and you like and enjoy it, we do appreciate it. But we'll be back again and doing this again. And look out for M&D. They're going to be doing their podcast. They're going to be putting videos out on their YouTube channel. And whenever we come across those, we will definitely put those out there for you to peruse and enjoy. The collaboration doesn't just end with this particular podcast. It's a great thing, and I think that bringing everybody together and creating a community out of this, a community where people can go and legitimately explore whatever it is they need to explore and find the help that they need if they need any, and just learn more without judgment is fantastic. At least that's the way I look at it. So it's going to be good. I think it's going to be great. 2019 is going to rock, man.
Gonna rock.
Yes. Very nice. You guys good?
Yes.
All right. Well, anyway, see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Reaching out, reaching out, since I'm begging. Peanut butter, I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter, I like peanut butter. Peanut butter, I like peanut butter. Bye.